Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I am like you in that I am just now starting to get phone calls from all of my friends and family about investing in XRP. My wife last night told me that her best friend wants me to explain to her why she should own XRP. And so when she said that, I agreed, of course, to talking to her today about that, and I'm going to. But I decided, I was sitting there thinking to myself, what's a simple way that I could explain this to her? And so I decided the most simple way is to give her my top 5 reasons that I own XRP. So I decided if I'm going to do it for her, I'm going to do it for my audience. So at the end of this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons that I believe holding XRP is the way to go. Okay. Now, I'm going to start this video out. I wanted to show the market. The market, I would say, is kind of in a holding pattern, but it's holding pretty steady. XRP is staying in that 28, almost 29 cent to 30 cent range, and kind of, I guess you'd call it consolidating. There are a few that are going crazy. Chainlink's going nuts right now. VeChain is doing well right now. Stellar's up a little bit. Tezos is doing well, but anyway, that's one thing that to me is a pretty good sign about this market, is that we have, even when the market's kind of doing not a lot, you've got some of these things that are surging. And I think that's a pretty good indicator. Ian Northing at IANBINS sent me this. New York regulator fast tracks 10 cryptocurrencies. The New York State Department of Financial Services has created a green list of pre-approved cryptocurrencies for custody, servicing, and listing. Meanwhile, crypto-friendly SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce, also known as Crypto Mom, has been confirmed for another term at the commission. And these are the 10 that they have approved for custody, and also for listing. Now, all XRP, you'll notice, is on the custody list. And these are the coins that are approved for listing. Okay. So someone was asking me this morning, why do you think XRP is not listed for, approved for listing? I think it's an interesting question, but you know what? The way I come down on this is that all the world's a stage. I don't believe for 2 seconds that the powers that be have not already made their decisions on exactly what XRP is. But I think that I've been watching this stage for 2 or 3 years now real closely. And so when I see these kind of things, I'll just give you an example. Take Paxos. Now, in the course of my doing research, there's one thing I've noticed, and that is Paxos pops up. I've seen Paxos. They presented, the CFTC has a place where some of these companies go and present to the CFTC. And I remember looking around in documentation one time, and at the CFTC, Paxos was one of the companies that had presented what they do at the CFTC. But my point in saying that is, both of these companies right here, and that's not the only place I've seen Paxos. And for those of you that don't know, my understanding of Paxos is that it's some type of a stable coin, or like a gold, or they have a stable coin that has something to do with gold, but I haven't researched that a lot. But both of these companies, of all the things on this list, both of these companies have connections in high places. Okay. And I'll reiterate that point. But first, Crypto Wolf had summarized this. The New York State Department of Financial Services has created a green list of pre-approved cryptocurrency for custody, service, and listings. But I wanted to, those of you that haven't been around, it's important that you note, Ripple welcomes new board member Benjamin Lawsky. This is November 21st, 2017. And look where he was. He's the former superintendent of financial services for the state of New York. You see how this works, folks? So anyway, those kind of things I don't forget. XRP Crypto Wolf, Ripple early investor, Pantera CEO Moorhead believes XRP is one of only a handful of crypto assets that boast long-term sustainability. I see a world where we have 8 or 10 really important blockchains 10 years from now, and XRP is going to be one of them. Nice. That's the guy that runs Pantera Capital, Dan Moorhead. All right. And then we've got this. I'm trying to go back since we have so many new people in the audience and so many new people on YouTube and on Twitter, trying to show you some of the things you may not have seen while those of us that were here in the trenches for the last couple of years, you may not have seen some of these quotes. This is one from Brad Garlinghouse. February 7th, 2018, the price of XRP over 3 hours, over 3 days, over 3 weeks, or even 3 months. That is not success. That's not how I measure success. I think about success over the next 3 to 5 years. Folks, I think we're approaching year 3. Just so you know. And this happens to be the year of the digital asset, according to Ripple. Okay, and then there was this quote also from David Schwartz. When Bitcoin sold for $1, you couldn't really use them to buy or sell a house. You can now. Bigger transactions require higher value. The higher the price of XRP, the larger the payments Ripple can target. That's David Schwartz. And then there was this from David Schwartz. The most, I don't know what this is written from. It may just be tweets, but it's interesting anyway. The most obvious benefit to Ripple of an increased price for XRP is that it increases the value of Ripple's XRP. This means that Ripple has a greater ability to incentivize partners and liquidity. It also means that Ripple can raise more revenue by selling XRP. Indirectly, more value almost always means more liquidity and trade volume. XRP already has each of the other characteristics needed to be a good intermediary asset, but it will be initially limited by the available liquidity. Greater liquidity will give Ripple more flexibility to target larger corridors. Also, to some extent, Ripple's success is limited by people's perception of Ripple's success. If you think Ripple's payment technology is going to be the next big thing, you'll be willing to invest money and resources needed to implement and deploy it. If you think Ripple is a scam, you're not going to integrate it or perhaps even look at it. Whether it makes sense or not, XRP's price is seen as a measure of Ripple's success, likelihood of future success. It is also important to note that it not be terribly expensive to hold XRP. A higher price will mean that a similarly sized cell will produce less volatility. So a higher price could mean a lower cost to hold XRP. So long as XRP's general price direction is up, the volatility can be hedged without much difficulty. And then I think this is from that earlier tweet. Last thing says, when you're expecting exponential growth, even a small increase in your starting point can pay huge dividends down the line. All right. Now, I showed you this about a week ago. This is from the U.S. Justice Department. This is the settlement agreement with Ripple back in 2015. I wanted to draw your attention to something I showed you. I showed this to you about a week ago, and I had shown you how this person right here, Catherine Juan, okay, who was one of the U.S. attorneys that signed off on the deal, had gone on, and remember, this was back on May 5th of 2015, and then in June of 2017, she joins the Coinbase board of directors. Well, this morning, I was just looking around for interesting videos from the last couple of years that many of you may not have seen to pull some good sound clips. And I ran across one and I saw a woman on stage who I really did recognize. And it turns out that it happened to be Catherine Juan, the same woman who signed off on the Ripple agreement and the same woman who then went to the board of directors of Coinbase. But you'll never guess who she's on stage with. That would be Brad Garlinghouse, May 30th, 2018. About 3 years after the Ripple signed agreement, she happens to be sitting right here on stage with Brad Garlinghouse. And I thought that was, and I didn't even realize it. I was looking at the stage and I was like, that woman looks familiar. And I looked down and see this name and I was like, whoa, what's that name? I remember that name. Where'd it come from? So sure enough, I guess the best way to say it is what? All the world's a stage? I don't know. Well, I did pull one interesting clip out of that video from Brad Garlinghouse, by the way. Listen to this.
People going to be disappointed, or is that still a very big deal?
Well, I think within the Ripple ecosystem, within the XRP ecosystem, that is a multi-trillion-dollar problem.
And I gave you just the biggest softball in the world. I apologize for that.
No, I welcome it. Look, today we announced the largest bank in Kuwait became a customer of RippleNet. There is a massive inefficiency in how global money moves. I've made the joke many times, which is actually quite serious. The fastest way for you to get money to London today is to drive from here to LAX and fly it there. That's a crazy statement. And there's all kinds of inefficiencies about how global liquidity, global cash is managed, which makes our financial system less efficient. We can accelerate the engine of global commerce by leveraging these technologies. Bridget, I think, characterized it well. If you can accelerate transactions, reducing the cost, making them far more efficient. I mean, imagine this. SWIFT has a published error rate of 6%. Imagine if 6 out of 100 Google searches resulted in a 404. It's inconceivable. Yet our global financial infrastructure has a 6% error rate. It takes days to settle a transaction and costs way more than it should. And the people who are penalized the most are the people who can least afford to handle that.
Okay. So I thought that was an interesting clip. Now, Michael at VAL5 Links sent me this. As reported by Finextra, major payment platform Wirex, which uses XRP wallet, has been officially permitted to work in Georgia, making this its first foothold in the U.S. before further expansion. Now, I don't ever talk about Wirex because some of you may not remember, but I do. I remember the Wirex CEO bad-mouthing XRP one time, and I've never talked about it much again. And they just happened to land here in Georgia. I'm conflicted on it as to whether I want to pay much attention to what Wirex is doing or not. Maybe this guy could enlighten me as to why he bashed XRP back in the day. But he did. That's not something I'm just making up. And I'll have somebody else. I know somebody listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have it in front of me. Okay. This is interesting. The crypto utility guy, I haven't heard from him in a while, but I'm glad to see him back. He says, one moment while I top up my XRP, now ask me about Bitcoin. I don't talk about XRP. Now, what I think he's talking about here is yesterday, I covered this 20 institutional Bitcoin investors revealed, but soon the list may vanish. And down here, it said that, it was showing that the Rothschild Investment Corporation was one of the top 20 investors in the Grayscale Bitcoin, GBTC. And so I thought that was interesting. That's a Bitcoin only, fund or whatever you call it. Now, many of you may not remember, but I do. This is from Bank XRP. SBI owns an 8.7% stake in Ripple's XRP. Not sure how valid this is. Now, it is valid, and here's how I know, because I've gone to the action. This is from a 2018, as I recall, 2018 Edmund de Rothschild financial report. This was the part that was right out of it. SBI Holdings, and it shows here, the underlying equity rallied over, it's talking about how they own equity in SBI Holdings. The underlying equity rallied over 60% during the period as the company was caught up in the optimism surrounding cryptocurrencies. SBI owns an 8.7% stake in Ripple's XRP, with volatility in underlying equity rising. The company's 2017 CB converted. CB is also richened strongly. So SBI has an 8.7% stake in XRP, according to that report. And the Rothschilds own a large stake in SBI Holdings. Okay? Got the picture? Now, to my top 5 reasons that I hold XRP. Here they are. This is what I will be telling my wife's best friend this afternoon. The first one is that this is a new asset class, folks. And I've said this 1,000 times on this channel, but you need to hear it again. When I was a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley back in the day, they taught us about the asset classes. Okay. You've got different asset classes. You got stocks, bonds. You got precious or commodities, real estate. All these things are different asset classes, and financial advisors around the world teach all of their clients. They go into their homes and they lay out an ideal portfolio based on their circumstances, how old they are, when they plan to retire, whether they have kids, and all the different factors. And they come up with a portfolio that's a balanced portfolio, and your assets are allocated across these different asset classes. That is the first thing that I saw when I saw digital assets come across my radar back in 2013. That is what I recognized. I literally turned to my wife and I said, if this XRP thing is what I think it is, one day we'll have this. We can move this into our brokerage account. And if I'm right on that, we should all be pretty wealthy if we're invested in this early enough. Second thing is the people. Now, this is about Ripple. When I looked down that list in 2013, and even to this day, I don't care what you look at, there is not one single digital asset on the coin market cap list anywhere that has even bordering on the number of Ivy Leaguers. The number of Ivy Leaguers who left really highbrow jobs at places like the CME Group or Goldman Sachs or BlackRock to go to this little startup called Ripple. Not just Ivy Leaguers, but go, if you don't believe me, go to ripple.com, go look at the About Us section, look at the people that left Swift, look at the people who are in this company. These are not Joe Schmoes. Look at the people on the board of directors. Look at the advisors. These are people, I can draw lines all the way to the heights of power, not just in the United States, but around the world. If you don't believe me, go look for yourself. If you do believe me, go look at what I've done over 1,500 videos talking about all this stuff. Go back and look at them. Third, first mover advantage. I've said this before on this channel too. To this day, I use a Windows-based PC. I know that Apple is a better product. Okay. But I use Windows because that was the first thing that was introduced to me. Bill Gates literally took most of the market share and has held most of the market share for a long time not because he had a better product, but because he was first. Well, my contention is that in terms of a digital asset that can actually be used, XRP was first. Yeah, you may say Bitcoin was first. Well, guess what? Bitcoin has no use case. All it can ever be and ever will be is a store of value, period. Because it's dinosaur technology already, and the Bitcoin maxis know it. So the first digital asset that can actually be used in this world, the first mover, is XRP, period. In terms of a digital asset that can actually be used. In other words, Windows could be used in real life. Apple could be used in real life on computer. I mean, they both could be used. Well, that's a different comparison in that respect. Bitcoin cannot be used to effectively move money or to move money across borders. It's no competition for XRP. So XRP is the first. They have the first mover advantage. Not they, but XRP, the digital asset, does. All right. The technology. And this kind of, to me, the technology is just one of the 5 things. The technology of XRP, just look it up. It's the fastest. It's the most scalable. It's the most inexpensive. And the use of XRP has been being sold and touted by all of those people that I mentioned at Ripple since 2012, right? So you got the best tech that's being pushed by a group of smart and connected people at Ripple for years. Bitcoin hasn't had that. And fifth, and this might be the biggest part of the picture altogether. Look, folks, I'll never forget it because I was burned by it like many of you were. I know my audience like the back of my hand, folks. And you know who you are? Let me describe you. those of you out there that listen to me, the core of my audience, and I'm not talking about trolls and all that. I'm talking about the people who can see through all the mess of people being ugly and different things on Twitter and social media. I'm talking about the people who are here because they have their big boy pants on. I know exactly who you are. Many of you are like me. You participated in the .com boom, but you weren't in a position to really be able to benefit and become wealthy or to really cash in on the .com boom. You know who else you are? Many of you also, you went through that experience. Then you later you went through the financial crisis. And when the financial crisis happened, you're like me. You said, wait a minute. This doesn't make sense. Our economy does not make sense anymore. This is not the world that I grew up in. The world I grew up in is probably the same world you grew up in. My dad would come home he would come home from work at about 6 o'clock, and he would eat his dinner in a recliner while he watched the evening news. And it was only 2 to 4 choices, the network news. And it was about 30 minutes he would watch the news. And he would watch that news and he would hear about things like manufacturing in the United States and how the manufacturing, what was going on with the production of cars and fabric and different things like that, and how that would affect the markets and the stock markets, and it would make them go up and down. In 2008, I guess in 2008, 2008, I'm trying to think 2008, when the financial crisis happened, that was the first time in my life that I realized that the United States economy was cooked, that this was not going to end well. Now, the United States and the world had a choice. They had a choice. And the choice is either go down in flames or do something to come out of the flames. Okay? I believe that at that point, the United States and world governments around the world initiated a plan. And I think that plan was digital assets. I believe, but because when 2008 happened, you are like me. Many of you started looking at gold and silver. And you started saying, well, I may have to go into gold and silver. And then somewhere along the way, I got lucky and I discovered Bitcoin and started researching this. That's how I discovered XRP. And I'll never forget it. I looked at that website over on CoinMarketCap, and I remember clicking on the Ripple website and looking at this website and thinking, well, this looks different. This looks like a group of people that know what they're doing, that have jumped on this and jumped on it early. And I was right, folks. Now, at that point, I pivoted from the gold and silver thing to digital assets for one big reason. And that is that if this is what I thought it was, that there would be this would be a new asset class, and there would be such a wave of money coming towards it. I never dreamed in a million years at that time that just so happened that I would have picked the exact company to focus in on and the exact digital asset to focus in on. I had to have a lot of luck with that part. But 2008 was a pivotal moment for the world. That was the moment that the world changed. And I can remember being at a party and talking to a banker and saying, you think that you guys getting bailed out was a good thing. But Pandora's box was just opened, and you will never be able to put it back in the box because you have just introduced, I don't know what you call it, but it's not capitalism. Because the second that you can bail people out, one guy gets bailed out and 2 other guys that he competes with don't. And all of a sudden you don't have real competition. So it was that, but it's also the debt. It's all of these things. And then since the financial crisis, we have watched our country. I can't remember what the exact figure was, but I think that it was in the low teens that the trillions of dollars of debt whoops, my computer just went to sleep on me. Okay. My computer just went to sleep. But anyway, it was into the teen trillions. And now we're going on towards, I think, 26 trillion, some crazy. That's not sustainable. They had to have figured out a way to roll all of this into something new. And I believe that XRP is at the very center, or as Brad Garlinghouse says, XRP is the heartbeat of Ripple. I believe XRP is at the very center of being a part of that plan. I want to finish up by reminding you, I've got my newsletter. You can join up it's free. It's a free newsletter. Just put your name and email address in, and I'm going to start every month. I'm going to send an email out and let you know what I'm investing in at that time. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that I have a newsletter, and I also have the top 5 reasons that I own XRP. Thanks for listening.